This is a FAIN online event. My name is Malcolm Brabant. Ordinarily, I'm a reporter with the PBS NewsHour, which is an American TV program. But today, I'm really proud to announce that actually I'm the co-author of a really special book, The Daughter of Auschwitz. This has been a labor of love. And my co-author is Tova Friedman, who's in New Jersey at the moment. She is one of the youngest survivors from the Auschwitz concentration camp, and she's with us now. Tova, we started this project just over a year or so ago, and now it's in print. How does that feel?
It feels great. I'm just amazed how many people are interested, and I'm humbled by it. It's a work of love between you loved doing it, I did too, although it wasn't an easy job for either of us. But I'm really very, very excited and humbled, really, by how many people are interested.
Why wasn't it easy?
It was very difficult. First of all, physically, you weren't with me and I wasn't with you, so we really, the distances were very difficult because of COVID. That's number one. Number two, the memories of what I had to go through. I had to dig deep into my own experiences, which was not an easy job for me. I had sleepless nights and I got very upset about things. It's a difficult process to go into that type of childhood.
Yeah, I have to say it was difficult in terms of the distance, and it was not an ordinary autobiography in that respect, in that we weren't together in the same place, and that
Right,
made
exactly.
for lots of challenges, and so we couldn't have lots of back and forth. And I remember that we had, conversations when I would be up in the middle of the night, or you would be up in the middle of the night, and which shows just how intense it was.
Right, exactly. And when people usually to write a autobiography of somebody or biography, you've got to be there close to them because things come up, and with me, when things came up, it was either in the middle of the night for you or the time when I worked and I couldn't talk to you and you wanted to get, so the process itself was difficult, and I'm amazed that we did it, that we did it on time, we did it well, we did it professionally, and we succeeded. I think I would call it against all odds, but it was done.
That's a bit extreme. I mean, you know what against all odds is, and in comparison to what you've been through, this is not against all odds.
It's true, but it was difficult. It was a very difficult process, but we did it. So I'm very proud of the two of us.
Why was it necessary to write it, though, Tova?
Sorry? What?
Why was it necessary to write it?
It was very necessary, first for me personally. Everybody when they leave this world, and I'm 84, so I'll be very happy to have 5 more years or more, but we'd like to leave something behind. We like to leave something we learned, something so that we leave this world a little bit better than we found it. And I think this book is going to be doing that. If children will be reading it, if adults will be reading it, if people who never heard of it before will be learning about it, it's something positive hopefully will happen from that. And
so what do you hope publication will achieve?
Sorry, what?
What do you hope it will achieve, the book?
What do you think of the pub? Well, I'll tell you what. First of all, talking about a child's experiences, it's not just me. It's the universal child in general. It's children that suffer all over the world for something they don't even know what it is about. They have no idea. I had no idea why being Jewish you have to be killed. I didn't even know what Jewish was. So in a sense, it's showing that because the adults haven't thought out a certain type of a moral life, children all over the world are suffering and dying even now. So it is a universal story, and for all those children who didn't make it, 1.5 million Jewish children were murdered. So that's what the publisher is doing, and I think it's a great thing that they're doing.
But there have been so many Holocaust books, and some of your friends, I think, have said there have been so many. Why are you doing it?
Yeah, they say, why are you bothering it? Because I used to complain, oh, I can't sleep. I'm so upset. Don't talk to me. I don't want to go to dinner or whatever. I said, because I really have to. And I feel there are not too many of us left, unfortunately. At this age, many people aren't well. Many people are not able to talk. Many people try to forget a lot because it's so painful. So I am sort of representing some of those who can't talk. I think what makes it universal, because it isn't just me, it is a person like me and a child like me. That's what I think.
At the moment, the book is going to be published in 13 different countries so far.
Is that true?
Yeah, well, it's
I
about
didn't know that.
yeah, it's about 12 different languages alongside English as well. So,
Wow.
and we've just had a contract through for Slovakia, for example. So it's going to spread. How important is it that people around the world take notice of this story, do you think?
I think that what's happening now, and it's been continuing to happen, we have forgotten our humanity. We have forgotten what human beings are here on earth for. And we're not here to kill. We're not here to destroy. Look what's happening in Ukraine. I don't know how many children are losing their families, their parents, besides their homes. How many children are now hungry around the world, all over in Africa? So I hope this book will sort of remind people of their humanity, because my incarceration didn't happen all of a sudden. It was a slow process, and during that entire process, nobody did anything to stop it. And I hope that this book will help people to look around and stop it before you get to the point of killing children. For instance, somebody, I think, Henry Heine, I think, Heinrich Heine, which is a German Jewish poet, who said, people who burn books, which means ideas, will burn humans also. And that's exactly what happened. Nobody stopped the burning of books. So they continued, and they could burn humans.
One of the things that people should be aware of is, although the book is called The Daughter of Auschwitz, it deals very much actually with the lead up to that terrible journey that you had to make. And it goes, and the thing that sort of struck me about it as we wrote it was just how long the torment that you went through was in the ghetto, which lasted from 1940 up to 1944. It was just extraordinary the way in which the Germans applied that pressure on you and stripped you down to the bare necessities, almost taking everything away from you.
Exactly.
How on earth did you endure all of that?
I mean, look, the first thing they took our books, our literature. That means our rabbis. So we had no structure, and our doctors. There were no Jewish doctors that could take care of us, and the Germans doctors wouldn't, of course, or the Polish doctors, right? So they stripped us of absolutely everything physical, killing our grandparents, killing children. They stripped us of all of meaning of humanity, what we live for on this earth. We live for our families, right? No family. We'll live for friends. No friends. Food is almost not as well. Food became very powerful, of course, when you're starting to starve. But the killing of your entire environment that was meaningful was absolutely devastating.
But the one thing that sort of struck me all the way through the narrating of your story was the fact that your dignity was maintained all of the time, that survival itself became a matter of resistance. Every day that you managed to stay alive was an act of
Absolutely.
resistance.
You know what we never lost, which I find amazing? Hope. There was always this hope that somehow this nightmare will finish. And we just hope that we are going to make it every day. And everybody said in their minds, I have to live because I may find my father. I have to live because I must find my brother. I must find my children. My mother, until the very end, said, we have to survive. She said to me, you have cousins and brothers, and she has all this family. So this hope that this will finish and we will again become a people and a family seem never to have left most of us, which I find amazing.
But the thing, I mean, you say that you had hope, but so did 6 million other Jews, and 6 million other Jews didn't survive, and they had the same hope. What do you think it was that enabled you and
I
your
hate to tell
parents?
you, it was luck, a lot of luck. And my parents were, of course, devoted, whatever they had to try to save me. And a few times they really succeeded, as you know in the book, but many times they didn't. When I was alone without my mother and father, and I was taken to the gas chambers, they just didn't function that day, or something happened. I don't know what happened, but I remember going back from the gas chambers. Now that was luck. I have no idea. People who are religious will say God. I don't know if I would use that word. I really don't know.
Well, that's one thing that we've tried to answer in the book, and just looking, and it's difficult because you were 6 years old at the time, and you weren't keeping a diary, so you don't know the particular day that you went to the gas chamber. But it was towards the end of the life of Auschwitz and Birkenau, the concentration camps, and we have we think, well, I think personally, it's a possibility that the day or around the day you went to the gas chamber was the day that the Nazis decided that they weren't going to gas anybody anymore, because they did make that decision. And so it might have been just a remarkable coincidence, or as you originally used to think, that it was a bureaucratic sort of mix-up in that the Germans got the wrong set of people that particular day. And
That's what I thought. But I didn't speak German. I didn't know they were screaming and yelling at each other. I remember that part. And they told us to get dressed. And so I was under the impression, maybe an older child told me, that they got the wrong transport, the wrong barrack. So I don't really know, but that is what I remember vaguely.
But I mean, that's just one of a whole number of occasions when you narrowly escaped death, and it is just remarkable. And one of what people I think will find sort of extraordinary about that journey is that as you were walking to the gas chamber, is that you walked past the section of the camp where your mother was,
Right.
and 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 you were so nonchalant about where you were going. It was, even though you knew where you were going and you had some sort of understanding of what it was, you accepted it. You were stoical. Can you just describe for people?
It's not that I was stoical. It was that I thought, don't forget, I was only a year old when the war started. So I didn't know how it is to live without war and without killing. I never even imagined, couldn't imagine it. I thought that all Jewish children have to die. And I knew about the crematorium and the gas chambers. I heard all around. The other barracks were taken. There was another barrack of children that was gone and empty. I knew where they were going. I also knew, because we got something good to eat that morning, that this is a special morning, and we were going. So to go to my death was almost as natural for me. Although I'm not sure I knew what it was. I knew that wherever you go, you don't come back. But I didn't know I didn't understand the process of gassing. I just knew You walk in somewhere and you don't come in anymore. That's all. You're gone. That's that much I knew.
But
So
the extraordinary thing about that walk from your barrack to the crematorium was that you passed by the section of the camp where your mother and other women were.
right.
And your mother shouted out to you.
Well, that was because she called me by my name. Nobody called me by my name. I didn't have a name. I had a number. And I said,
Can you show us the number? Can you show us your tattoo?
Show you now?
Yes.
Now?
So people see.
I don't know. You can see it.
Yeah. Pull it in a little bit. Yeah. That's it. What's the number?
27,633 with A in front of it.
And it hasn't faded very much, has it?
No, it hasn't, which is interesting. Many people faded. Yeah, this one is still keeping. I think it'll be here till the end, till my end.
But I interrupted the story, but basically what happened was your mother shouted out to you and she said, she used your name because you were used to hearing your number. So what happened?
Oh, I said, it's my mother's voice. Oh, she's here somewhere, but I couldn't see her because there was so many women, lots of women. So I said, to the crematorium. So everybody started screaming and crying because some of those children in my line were their children. And then I remember turning to this little girl next to me, and I remember as if it's today, I said, why are they crying? Doesn't every child go to the crematorium? Why are they all upset? And I just kept walking, just freezing outside. Then I remember my feeling, very, very cold out.
And you went down the steps into the sort of antechamber.
Right.
And they made you step off. And they gave you an orange towel.
And I remember they told us there were so many hooks all around the room. It was like a cement floor or something, very big room. And I remember saying, they said, check. So when you come out from the shower, you'll get your clothes. But I couldn't read the numbers because I couldn't read, obviously. I had memorized the word for the numbers, but I couldn't figure which number is what. So I'm looking at those three. I think there were like three numbers. I don't know what. So what I did, I looked at the person next to me to see her shoes and her clothing, so I could recognize it when I come back, because I would not be able to find my number. So, and we waited and waited, and they gave us something to cover up, very light, very free. I remember that whole period of being absolutely frozen, freezing. I wasn't hungry because the first time they gave us a pretty good breakfast. But we were there for a long time, I remember. And I just remember huddling and then going back.
And you went back past your mother's
same people, but it was dark already.
And they saw you coming back, and they were amazed that you came out.
Yeah, they said, "What happened?" And I said, "They couldn't do it this time. They'll do it next time." Again, like, oh, it's a little glitch. It's just a glitch. They'll take care of it later. It wasn't like, oh, I'm saved. It was, well, I made it. Next time they'll be able to do whatever they want us. Whatever has to be done to us will be done next time.
I mean, just in case people don't realize it, this is, just one of the most extraordinary things, that you're sitting here now in New Jersey, having been through that experience. Perhaps you and those children who were with you are the only Jews, or perhaps there might have been some others, who went into a gas chamber and who came out.
Very few, yeah.
It's extraordinary, isn't it?
Very.
And so people don't know this, but you and I met on the 75th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz, and we were filming. And at the time, I thought you and I had finished filming, and we were right by the only remaining gas chamber that exists in the Auschwitz complex. And I was filming inside, and then suddenly you appeared. I didn't want you to go inside because I thought it would be too much. And I saw you inside, and you were stunned by being in there. And it's one of those images that will live with me forever. That you were so shaken by it.
It's very hard. I'm not going back. I'm done. I never want to go back to Auschwitz again for the rest of my life. I have to protect myself. The older I get, the more I'm shocked at what happened. The realization what people can do to other people and how nobody stopped them until so late when so many people around the world were killed. Nobody stopped them. I don't get that. I'm amazed. The man was a mentally ill person. We know that. And a whole nation followed him? How is that possible? It still doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't make sense. I'm a therapist and I read about it and I think about it. I can't believe. I mean, can you believe this happening now? A mad person comes and everybody's going to follow him like he is the Messiah. It was like he was German's Messiah. He was going to make everything good, wonderful, perfect. And they believed it. All you got to do is kill all these other people. It doesn't make sense to me to this day. I don't know.
Do you see any comparison between what's happening in Ukraine now to what happened during the Second World War? Are there any similarities, do you think, or are the circumstances totally different?
No, I don't see I see the suffering maybe, but there's a big difference. Ukraine is at war. It has a government. It has an army. It is fighting the aggressor. And sometimes this is doing well, sometimes they're winning, sometimes, there is a fighting chance, and the world is looking at it and is rooting for Ukraine. We were doing nothing but having coffee in our house. We were sleeping. We had no army. We didn't even know what a gun looks like. We were just, genocide is different from a war. Genocide is when people are in their homes with their families, somebody comes in and shoots them and shoots the children. War is that you take the men and there's a conflict. Ukraine has a chance, and we're all rooting for Ukraine. I just went to a big thing yesterday. It was a comedy show. I think maybe 3,000 people were at the affair, all for Ukraine. All the charity, all the tickets, everything was Ukraine. Nobody did this to us. I didn't even have what to eat after the war ended, even after the war ended.
Do you feel that anti-Semitism is still a force in the world?
Absolutely. You know what? We haven't learned. Something is, I don't know what to say, but we are still very fearful of others. The Jews have always been different. Our religion is different, right? We just don't necessarily blend in the general population. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. It's our choice, okay? And again, anti-Semitism, it looks like humanity needs scapegoats. Look, I'm a therapist, and in a family, there's always a scapegoat. It's the child, it's the father, it's the grandma's fault, it's the boss's fault. There's always somebody. Instead of looking at yourself, you find a scapegoat. And here again, all over Europe, I don't understand. The only thing that helps me sleep well at night is Israel, which I just came from. It's absolutely an unbelievable country. I I was there 3 years ago before the COVID, and I was there last week. It's a miracle. It's an utter miracle what they've accomplished there. The strength, the self-confidence, that's what helps. But I don't know. How do you explain the anti-Semitism, Malcolm?
I don't know. It's very hard for me. I mean, to understand what, how it can possibly happen after everything that took place 80 years ago. It's a mystery to me. And I just hope, I mean, one of the reasons we've written the book the way we have, in that it's sort of an immersive experience, so that you feel as though, hopefully the reader will feel as though they're walking in your shoes, and that those of your family, is that they will start to get angry about what happens what happened to you and to your people. Because I found that when I was helping you to write it, that I was getting angry, and it sort of disturbed my equilibrium. I became sort of really quite a sort of difficult person to live with, I think, quite possibly, because
Yes.
the story was so intense. But I was you had to sort of, it was impossible for me to be in your position or to think like you, but knowing what you went through and seeing how the pressure on your family was just maintained for all that time, and how you were stripped of absolutely everything, it was very, very disturbing to me, and it made me very angry. And I mean, it's been a few months now since we finished the book, and it took me a long time to actually come down from that experience and to get back to sort of normality. There's a bit of a void in a way that I don't have this amazing project to deal with now, but it was an extraordinary emotional experience for me. And I do not understand how anti-Semitism exists. But my question to you is, I mean, I hope that this book will do something in that respect, in that it will make people look at that period in a different time. Hopefully, readers will find that the book is really a fresh experience, in that it feels alive, and if that sort of works, then I think we might actually have achieved something. What do you think?
Well, I really hope that this book helps somebody, um, being a therapist, of course, I think in these terms, going internally into one's own thoughts and look at one's own prejudices and hatred, and to see if it's not examined and understood and checked, and if a lot of people have the same thing, like one group against the other, this is the culmination. This is the evil that can happen. So I want this book to be a wake-up call. It's both. It's a wake-up call of what can happen. I talk to schools about that, about bullying and so forth. I mean, kids have committed suicide because they were bullied especially on the internet. On Facebook, they were spoken against, and they're so upset that they committed suicide. So what the effect of hatred and evil, if it comes out from you to somebody else who's usually innocent. So I hope it's a wake-up call to people to say, wow, that's really, look what happened, and look how long it took for it to happen. It didn't happen right away. It was from the time that Hitler wrote Mein Kampf. We could have stopped him then. He shouldn't have won. He shouldn't have been a chancellor having written a book like Mein Kampf. But people did that. So I think it's an inner wake-up call, number one. Number two is obviously I've recuperated in many ways. I hope this book also gives hope. Hope to people that you can overcome a lot of terrible things in your life if you work at it. And that's what I did. I really had to. I couldn't live in a nightmare.
But do you think you have a normal life after everything you've been through? or does
Okay, let me
everything
tell
you've
you,
been through
let
shape
me
what you
tell
are?
you something. I had a normal outer life, but not a normal inner life. You can't have a normal inner life. Even now, you can't have it in a normal life because um, things trigger. That doesn't mean that you react to it. Always trigger. You know, the trains trigger things. My mother could never take a train. Never. In all the years in America, she couldn't get on the subway. She gets so ill. I remember just walking down the steps to the platform. I said to her one day, I'm going to take you. Please take a train with me for 1 or 2 stops. She went down the steps and she started throwing up from anxiety. And we never made it to the train station. So I have that, except that I, as a child, was able to, to get over it. And I had therapy, had a lot of therapy.
But children are very resilient, and that may be one of the reasons why you managed to not get over it, but to be able to live with the memories. But let's just talk about your mother. I mean, the reason why she wasn't able to get onto that train, presumably, was because the sound and the sight of
Right.
of trains and engines, that power, taking those cattle trucks to the gas chambers,
Exactly.
it took you to Birkenau. That
That's
was
right.
just an impossible thing for her to get over.
Exactly right.
Your mother was, as people will discover in the book, was the most extraordinary woman. She was incredibly resourceful. She was um, superb in the way that she somehow managed to protect you. And she played out of her skin to save you somehow. And yet she suffered so badly. And we mustn't tell people what happened to her because we want them to find out, because it's
Look,
important.
she had a
It's
goal.
important that they learn.
She had a goal to save me. Once she met that goal, she didn't want to live anymore. That's it. She did what she had to do and she was done. For me, it was the beginning. I came to America at 11 and a half and I learned to read. Couldn't read before. It opened up a whole world of beauty. Then, of course, I met my husband. You see, love, to me, it was the future. To her, she lost her whole past. She lost everything that was important. To me, I was building what was important because I didn't know the people from before. I had no idea who they were. She kept
You're
saying,
talking about the family that she lost.
exactly. She kept saying, you had such a great family. I still miss them to this day. To this day.
So that people know, your mother lost 150 members of her
Right.
family.
They were cousins because they were brothers and sisters and all their children and all their spouses. It was a gigantic family. 9 brothers and sisters, and each one had maybe 10 children, which was not unusual. She was the youngest. So it wasn't unusual to have a gigantic family.
Can we just talk about love? There was a period in your life when the bad memories and the nightmares vanished. They didn't come and haunt you every day. And that's when you were in the early days of your marriage with
Right.
and when you had your children growing, and love helped you get over it to an extent.
Absolutely. When I met Mayer, he spoke my language. He spoke Yiddish. I couldn't speak English. He was kind. He understood we were only 13 years old, 12 or 13. He understood the Holocaust. I didn't have to explain it to him. At that time, people didn't want to see my number. They didn't want to hear about it. They wanted me to cover it up and forget. I could talk to him about it without covering up, without forgetting. He was like that person, the continuity that I was seeking. So it heals a lot.
And you had a remarkably long marriage, and it's only relatively recently that he passed away.
Right.
How upset are you
years.
that he's not there to see that you've written this book, and how proud do you
I
think?
know. He would have been so proud. I know that. Well, you know, death is part of life. I'm glad that we were together for 60 years. That's a lot. I mean, in the Bible, you're supposed to what? Live 70 years, and those that are privileged get another 10. I got another 14, and I'm going strong.
Yeah.
So I should be very grateful. I am. I'm very grateful to have reached this age, being able to work, to travel, to read, to do everything, which is it's a gift. It's really a gift.
Well, your son Shani says that you're one of the most active 80-year-olds that are on the planet, and I have to say I haven't found anybody with your sort of levels of energy. But one thing that Mayer helped you to do was that he actually sort of helped to raise the children while you got involved in activism.
Right, exactly. But he was always, always, always there behind me, positive. I always say he was like the anchor, and that was like the balloon. I'd flitter around and work and travel, and he was there all the time. Look, when I used to travel somewhere, drive and get lost, I didn't look at the GPS. I called him. He would take a map and be with me until I got to the place I had to go. Turn left, turn right, avoid this. I knew that I would call him anytime, day or night. Like I had a meeting at work at night and I got lost. He'd say, okay, hold on. I'd wake him up, hold on. And I would come home.
But
So,
as far as your activism is concerned, though, at your age now, have you sort of got to the point where you can actually say to yourself, well, I've done my bit in trying to tell the world about the Holocaust. Now I should have some me time. I'm going to relax and put an end to it.
no,
Are you
no,
going
no,
to do?
no, 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 no. I went to Israel. Some of my friends are with canes. Others have walkers. Others have all kinds of stuff. And I was so grateful that I didn't have any of that stuff yet. No, no, no. To me, relaxing is action. I get up at 5:30 every morning. That's what you do. I don't understand. What do people mean when they enjoy themselves? That is my enjoyment. That exactly is that.
Mhm.
To be active, to contribute, to see clients. I have 2 clients today after our discussion here. Um, you know, what about you, Malcolm? Don't you feel like you do so much?
No, no. Listen, I mean, this is perhaps my third career being a writer. I've got other sort of I can't give up. What's retirement? I don't understand. But can I just ask you something? I think I'm right in saying that you haven't been to Germany since 1950 when you
Right,
got on that ship in
right.
Bremerhaven and you went to New York and you emigrated there. People who read the book will see that the sound of the German voice was very horrible to you when you were a child because you associated it with violence. Um, the book is going to be published in Germany, and I don't think I'm giving away any secrets when I say that the German publishers have asked you to go there
I
to
don't remember
publicize.
them asking me, by the way. Did they
Well,
really?
well, they have. Well, okay. Well, maybe I'm giving you some. But you said you wanted to go, and you've apparently.
Nobody asked me as far as I know, but I would go. What I would do is try to uh, get rid of the German command. The commands that they barked. They didn't talk to us. It wasn't a conversation. It was a command. So I would try to get rid of that and try not to blame. This is the third generation. It's the grandchildren of to see if I can have a dialogue, not to blame the children for the sins of their grandparents. I would hope that I could do that at this stage.
What about forgiveness? Can you ever forgive the
No,
Germans?
no, no, no. Forgiveness is not in my vocabulary. I can't do that because I cannot forgive for the dead. In Judaism, you cannot forgive. Only the dead can forgive you. Well, they're not here. I can't. I can't. You know why? Because my image is in my mind. When I see the Muslim, you know, the people who are like dying and their bodies are, and I saw them there when we went outside. I can't. And when I saw a whole bunch of cadavers lying, I can't do that. I can't forgive that. Even now, I can't, I don't want to think even about it. No.
No, I mean, so that people who are watching can understand, the people you're talking about are the people who are virtually skeletons and who are virtually dead in the concentration
Yeah.
camps. They've given up on life.
But I could talk to the young people if they speak English. I don't want to.
Germans are, by and large, they're very well educated and they do speak English, so I'm sure you'll get on perfectly well, you know, with the younger
I
generation.
could speak to the young people and sort of, I'd like to hear their opinion about their grandparents.
I've been to Germany a few times, and there are some things there that I find very moving, actually, when I've been there. For example, there's a street I go to near a hotel I was at, and there's a station called Friedrichstrasse, which is in the center of Berlin, and that was a place where lots of the German Jews were transported from the city to the concentration camps. And there's a very moving statue outside Friedrichstrasse station now of a mother with her 2 children and their suitcases. And also, I think the Holocaust Memorial, very close to the Brandenburg Gate, it's very austere, but it's very moving, and I hope that you find.
I saw it on internet. I look for the memorial. You know what? I'm not so big on memorials. To me, they're stones, and it's political. I don't know why. I don't like memorials. I want to speak to the people. I want to go to a classroom, and I want to look into their eyes and say, how do you feel if you knew that your grandpa killed people? That's what I want. I want them to sort of see if they can get over that and become and do good. You know, many of us, I know, not in the war, but in general, that if we come from criminals, and there are some of my clients do, they themselves are very righteous people to make up for the criminal element in their background. I've known people like that.
There is one good German in the book.
What?
There is one good German in the book. Can you remember who that is? It's the piano teacher. The piano teacher. The man who.
My piano teacher.
Yes.
That was my only person I met in Germany because I lived in a DP camp and we were surrounded by a wall. You couldn't, we were like safe. For the first time in my life at that time, we were safe. It's that nobody could come in and hurt us. But I used to walk out 2 or 3 blocks, I remember. It's amazing. My mother let me. And I came to this piano teacher and he was starving. And I gave him peas and carrots gotten from the Americans, and that was the price for my lesson. For years, by the way, it didn't last. I was in DK at least 2 years, and it was every week.
That's so one of the most extraordinary coincidences, actually, is that the displaced persons, the DP camp you were at, was in Landsberg, which is where Hitler wrote Mein Kampf.
Exactly. Exactly.
I didn't know
that. I didn't know that. I think you told me that. I don't remember if I knew that. Yeah.
Can I ask you another question? I mean, and we're coming to the end of it now, but there's always the possibility that a film producer might read this book and might say, this will make an extraordinary film. Would you like that to happen?
I can't imagine, I'm not a moviegoer. I'm really not I'm not a television watcher. It's another thing I don't do is watch television or movies because I like to read. I don't know. Would that be good for who's going to watch it? Little children?
I've thought about this,
Who's going to be
and
the audience?
well, I think there'd be a massive audience, but I was thinking that it would be impossible in a way, because how would you find a 6-year-old girl who could act?
No, you can. I thought about that. I think they many wonderful actors. They can find a little 8-year-old, let's say, but who's it for? I don't know. I can't imagine.
Because, as you say, it's a universal lesson. But I thought that it would be too traumatic for anybody to go through what you've been through.
I really don't know. I can't. I know that I've seen many horror films that are worse than that, and people go through, the actors bleed and do all kinds of stuff. That's why I don't go to watch these things. I don't know anything about the theater, to tell you the truth.
Right.
I really don't know, but can't imagine anybody wanting to make a movie of that. But who knows?
Well, we are on an adventure, you and me, to see where this book takes us, and it's extremely exciting. And I think that this is a suitable time to end. So I'd like to say thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's been the honor of my life to work with you.
Well, thank you very much. You put me, what can I say, in the public eye, which I never, between you and my grandson with a TikTok. Wow. Thank you. Thank you for
Thank you very much, Tova
Thank
Friedman.
you. Bye-bye.